Okay, so I want to write up this little series of stories, and when I began, I didn't really know what the theme was going to be. I knew I was going to write about some people that I met through the workplace, but I didn't understand yet what story it might tell. I knew that everybody has a story to tell, and so I knew that was going to be true, and I think you'll see that from these little stories I've got here. But it's not always so obvious. In fact, to get their real stories, you'd have to talk to the people themselves. I only worked with them a short time, and of course, at work, you put on a mask. You only show one side of yourself. But I was there 4 years, so it was the first place I really put some time into. I was still young. I was only 18, almost one of my first jobs. I was getting kind of a very humble start in life. I'd worked at 7-Eleven, cashier. I worked at McDonald's mopping floors, and finally I got this job as a dishwasher. So I was wiping tables, washing dishes, mopping floors, checking and cleaning the restrooms every hour. You see those little hourly checklists hanging on the wall. I was doing those. Okay, so can you picture me doing that? I guess I would have been younger. Anyway, so in those days, the managers kind of came and went. The guys that hired me were former police officers. Now, they were fairly young. I don't know if they retired or if they got in some kind of trouble or what, but they came as a set, the two guys. And one was the manager, the other guy was assistant manager, but they came and went. They were gone within just months. And that was pretty typical. And back then, the dishwashers used to come and go too. They'd just show up for a while. Sometimes they'd just do a shift, one shift, and they'd be gone. You almost wonder if it was worth doing the paperwork with them. Anyway, so I was just trying to do the best I could there, and the waitresses didn't spend much time talking to me when I was a dishwasher because these guys come and go, so no big deal. Anyway, but as the time went on, I went in to train to be a cook, and then now I'm important to them. So I'm not just cleaning their tables. I'm actually preparing their food for them, and so then they took a little bit more interest. And back in those days, waitresses would come in. It's not a bad job. They would come in and take a job, and the very first day shift, they could have $40 or $50 in cash, mostly quarters, but they could have it in cash at the end of a shift. And you have very few jobs where you get paid the same day you go to work. Okay, and so some of them would come and they would stay. Some would take off and not work as well. But usually the day shift would be there. And back in 1976, this is when all this is happening. There was not a lot of big salaries or anything like that. My mom was working as a bookkeeper at the credit union. I think she made less than $500 a month. So $40, $50 a night could be a big deal. Anyway, so they often stayed. One gal I met there, in fact, she was kind of like the head waitress. Her name was Dee. I had no idea how old she was. I thought she was ancient. I was 18, not so many wrinkles. I had all my hair. It was real thick and bushy. And I didn't even shave back then. It was just, But anyway, she was small, short, and thin, but she just had a roadmap for a face. It was all these wrinkles, and I thought, I've never seen that many wrinkles in all my life. I thought she's got to get close to pension time, or something here. Anyway, so and she was always trying to do the right thing. She wanted to open up a pawn shop. She was afraid, maybe that's not the best business. That's what people are down their luck, and you kind of take advantage of them. So she changed her mind. Never did open the pawn shop. So anyway, the youngest waitresses at that time were probably 30 to 35, at least the ones on day shift. So that seemed already ancient to me, okay? And the rest looked more like 50s, late 50s maybe, yeah. And long, hard work, being on your feet all day like that. And so anyway, the first couple months as a fry cook, they began training me, and then finally, Dee came along to me one time, and she asked me, she goes, well, what are you doing, hon? What are you doing, hon? And they called all the servers called everybody hon, I guess, so you didn't have to learn any names. So customers were hon, the working staff was hon, only managers, they called him boss. Yeah, boss and hon. And so you didn't have to learn a bunch of names. Anyway, I said, well, I told her, I said, well, I'm married, I'm paying the bills, and at the time as a dishwasher, that didn't sound so good, but as a cook, they go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, okay, and she just said, well, you're too young. You should have waited. Well, I should have. I've got a daughter. Oh, yeah. It's kind of adding up here. How'd this work out? Yes, of course. That's good. You stick with it, she would say. Don't ever get tired of doing good. Everyone, when you're 18, everyone tries to be your mom. And then I said, no, I'm going to college. I go, are you now? Well, yeah, everybody says they're going to college. She goes, yeah, on my days off, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm in class all day long. And she said, well, she got serious. And that's good, honey, real good. And then she paused for a long time. She grabs my hand. She looks deeply into my face, and she says, you're going to get out of here one day. Good for you. Good for you. And I didn't really understand what she's talking about. I mean, I wasn't trying to get out of anywhere. I was just trying to get my college diploma. Anyway, about 15 years later, I came back just to see the old building and to have a meal. I knew no one would be there. I mean, 15 years later, the day staff is dead, and everyone else has moved on. I think they had changed names over. It was already a Denny's now, an official Denny's. But I come in, sit down, and there you go. Guess who it is? Yeah, it's already, yeah. It's Dee. Dee's there. And she doesn't look a day older. She's still short. She's thin. Still has that roadmap of a face. Still has that jet black hair. I have no idea how old she is. And so I looked, and sure enough, it's name tag. It's her. I'm not making a mistake. I don't know if she remembered my name, but she still called me hon. And she told me what I missed. She filled me in on where everybody was at. Chloe's over here and Sandy's over here, and she filled me in on what people are doing and stuff like that. And she said, but I'm still here. I'm hanging in there. I'm too old to work and too broke to quit. and she asked me about my work, my family, and I tried to bring her up to date, and including getting that precious, impossible college degree. Which at one time seemed so far away. And now here the years passed, and it was a foundation for all my future plans. Everything I needed to do in life was in that degree. And that was many, many moons ago now. And I'm quite certain Dee is long gone. I don't think she's still around. But I still see her in my mind. I think back to that. When I think of Denny's and Sandy's there on University Avenue in Riverside, California, I still see her wrinkled smile. I still hear her voice from that last visit. And this is what she said. She said, you got out. You did. You got out. Good for you, hon. Good for you.